Hey, and welcome to another Front-End Engineering Explained. So in this video, I want to show you some of the things you can do with Popover and then combining that with CSS anchor positioning. Now, before we get started, a note on anchor positioning. So right now, today, as of 9 March 2025, it's only supported in Chromium browsers. So think Chrome, Vivaldi, Arc, add your browser here. So in Firefox and Safari, it's not yet supported, but the folks from Oddbird is writing and maintaining a really good polyfill, and you can use it today. And with the polyfill, you can use quite a lot of anchor positioning, but not everything yet. But they're actively working on it to add support for more and more things. Specifically, the anchor positioning that I'm going to use today is something that they're working on at the moment. I'm going to provide links to all of that in the description so you can go find it. Also, there's this other thing that all the browser vendors do, which is called interop. And the idea is to find out from web developers not only new features that we would like, but also existing features where the interoperability, therefore interop, isn't as good as we would like it. We still have to jump through some hoops and do some hacking around to make things work the same in all the modern browsers. Now, browser vendors want to avoid that. And that's one of the things that interop is. So they pick some topics and they say, okay, cool, we're all committed to these topics. We will land other things, we will experiment with other things, but these things are priority. And anchor positioning is one of those. So we're going to get better and better support as this year continues. With that said then, let's dive in. So you've probably had to build either a menu or some kind of tooltip or something, but essentially the interaction is you have a button, when you click it, it shows something. And maybe with a menu, it'll fly out to the right-hand side. And with the tooltip, maybe the same thing, it'll fly out to the right-hand side. And you've probably had to use some absolute positioning for that. You might have to, you definitely had to use some JavaScript for that. But then there's this niggly thing that always happens. What if it's on the other side? So now you have to figure out that you can't show it on the right-hand side because it will actually push out of the viewport. So you need to show it on the left-hand side. And of course, if you also have to support not just left to right writing modes, but also right to left writing modes, then you can actually run into this problem without having menu items that sit on different sides of the viewport. And before you think maybe, well, thankfully I don't have to support right to left, it's very hard these days to say that because we don't know how the people using our tools, our websites, our web apps, how they're using it. They can have many different browsers. They can have many different assistive technologies. They can have a mobile phone, a desktop thing. They can also choose to use a translation tool to translate things, and that might flip your UI into right to left. Now, you can debate whether you still need to support it, but I think you do, because we want everybody to be able to access the things that we make, right? We don't want to put up barriers just because they happen to use a different writing mode. But at the same time, I do acknowledge that it's not easy and it does add additional work. But let's see what Popover combined with CSS anchor positioning can do to alleviate some of this. Okay, let's jump in. So first things first, we want to say that this, so our UL over here is a popover. So kind of like a dialog, but it doesn't make the rest of the page inert. You can still interact with other parts of the page, all that kind of stuff. It just opens up on top of other things. And we want to use this button to open and close it. Be nice if we can also press escape. Be nice if we can also click outside. That's quite a lot, and you'd have to do all of that with JavaScript normally. Also, for accessibility purposes, you obviously want to make sure that it works with the keyboard. You also want to make sure that when you close, for example, if you press escape, that focus moves back to the button that opened the popover. Right. So to tell the browser that this UL here is going to be our popover, we're just going to give it the popover attribute, right? Now we have this ID called options to tell the browser that the element that is going to control this popover and open and close it, we're going to use another attribute, popover target, and we're going to give it options as the value. So we're referencing this ID. And I'm going to save. And I haven't touched anything else, right? I haven't added CSS or anything, and it's hidden. And that is because the browser is now, cool, this is a popover, so by default we want to hide it. This element over here is going to control it. So what happens if I click the button? It's shown. It's shown here in the middle of the screen, and that is the default for a popover. Same as a dialog, that's the default. But we have control over that, and that's where anchor positioning is going to come in soon. So we have it there, no styling yet. And when you click the button again, it closes again, doesn't make other elements inert, so you can still interact with them. Nice. If I focus a button and I press enter, yeah, it works with keyboard, with the space as well. If I open it and then when I click outside, it also goes away. Okay. And if I click and then press escape, focuses back on the button. So I can immediately press all of that we've gotten for free. Nice. Let's add a little bit of styling to our popover, right? And this is nothing special. This is just an unordered list. So we're just going to turn off, for example, our margins. We're going to turn off maybe our list style, set that to none. Maybe turn off our padding as well. Okay, so now it's sitting there at the top left, and all of that stuff is now removed. So we can add additional styles straight up in this options, but I do want to show you that there is a specific pseudo selector that you can use that will target the popover when it's open. So it won't be applied when it's hidden. Right now it's visible, but again, if we click, now it's gone. So now these styles still apply, right? And if we show it again, then of course these styles still apply. So what you can do is you can do options and then popover open. So here we go. Now all we're going to do here is let's give it let's just make sure that our background color is white, right? Because we don't want it to be transparent, for example. Maybe if you switch to dark mode, you might have trouble seeing the content. Let's make sure that our foreground color is going to be legible on our background color. And then let's do a couple of other things. Maybe give it a little bit of padding, like 1 rem. And we don't have to use padding inline and padding block because we're giving all the sides the same one. So whether it's logical property or physical properties, it doesn't matter here because they're all exactly the same. And so this gives us a little bit of styling, but now our links is kind of like, they're scrunched up. So we can use grid. We don't have to use grid, but it really makes this just so nice and easy. That looks much better already. And maybe we want a border, but maybe not as thick. So maybe let's do border 0.125 rem. That's like roughly 1 pixel. Solid, and let's make it that. Right, that looks pretty nice. So again, everything still works is fine, but now the positioning thing, right? What do we do about that? Well, this is where anchor positioning comes in. Now I'm in Chromium, I'm in the Chrome browser here, so I don't have to load the polyfill or anything like that. So all I have to do is, first things first, is I have to say what is our anchor. Now a button is our anchor. And it has a class called trigger. So what we'll do here is we'll go and say trigger, oops, not that, trigger anchor name. And now we're going to use the same as how we would define a CSS custom property, for example. So we'll say, let's say, we can call it trigger, why not? That's it, right? But now it's not yet associated, so that the link doesn't exist yet. So to do that, we're going to go, and again, I'm just going to use options area. You don't have to, you can add this to options. I just want us to focus in on this part, and so we will say position anchor, and we'll use that same name, trigger. Now they're connected. Now they're associated. We're not positioning it yet though. Now we're going to use position area. And what we're going to do with our position area is we're going to say we want this to be positioned all the way on the right, so inline end, and then we want it to span block end. So we want it to span from the top here and just span downwards. And to do that, we're going to do position area inline end and span block end. Okay. Now if we go back, look at that. Perfect alignment, exactly what we wanted. And everything still works, right? So we can click outside, we can click, focus goes back, keyboard works, everything still works. And in fact, because we're using Popover here, there's already an implicit association between the trigger, aka the anchor, and our positioned element, aka our Popover. So technically, we can remove this and this, and everything is still going to work. Everything still works. But I also mentioned about, but what if it's over there? Either because the writing mode has changed, or just maybe you have a menu item that sits all the way over to the right. Oh no, we still have that problem. But here's the thing. We can solve this with one more line of CSS anchor positioning. And this is the property called position try. What this tells the browser is, I have specified a position where I'd like this anchored element to be, but please take care that if for whatever reason it cannot be displayed in my chosen position, or my first position, my preferred position, if you want to call it that, do this thing instead. Okay? And what we're going to say is we're going to say flip inline. So all we're saying is we have it positioned over there. If you can position it on the right because there's not enough space, or there's just more space on the other side, just flip it in line. Hard to believe, right? Let's see. Position, try, flip inline. Okay, I'll refresh. On the right, on the left. So if we remove this, because we're using Popover, and we therefore get the implicit association, we only need 2 lines of CSS to get our positioning here and to resolve the positioning problem when you move over there. Absolutely amazing. So with 2 attributes and 2 lines of CSS, we have implemented all of this, and it's keyboard accessible. It's amazing. So go play around with this. As I mentioned, support right now is only in Chromium, but it's going to land in all the browsers, and it's going to land pretty soon. And in the meantime, you can use the polyfill from Oddbird. And as I said, it's actively being worked on, and more things are going to land in the polyfill. But soon we won't even need the polyfill, and we can get all of this out of the box like we can do right now in Chromium. Exciting stuff. The web is amazing. What we can do on the web is just mind-boggling, and it's just getting better and better. So go out there and make awesome stuff, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Peace.